Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today's pick a card is very spiritually oriented. What we're wanting to do is see how the divine views you, how they see you and where you are in your path and so forth, compared to how you see yourself. So we're going to do a little bit of a kind of a not a reality check so much, because I don't think that things are going to be so incredibly different, but see what perhaps the divine is seeing in you that you don't see in yourself, and how that then connects with how you see yourself and what you're trying to achieve in your life and so forth. So it'll be an interesting exploration, I guess, into one's soul's purpose and how one is viewed, I guess, in the celestial realms. That's the idea. Now, how we're going to sort of set it up at the beginning is that for the choice of pile, I have a card from the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. So this is meant to give some of the energy around the viewpoint, because if the divine is looking at you, they might be looking at you around a spiritual process. It could be around a career thing. It could be around love. It could be around learning. It could be any number of things. So this is kind of almost the energy of the context. I have a couple of Astro Oracle cards under there that have planetary pairings, one which will be kind of the energy you see in yourself, and the other will be the energy that the divine is seeing. Will help you know probably fairly early in the reading if you've got the right reading, because if you don't feel you can align at all to what I'm saying about how you see yourself, then maybe check out one of the other readings. And I also have a Wild Unknown Alchemy card there that is kind of the alchemical transformation spiritual process that is operating within you at the moment that connects the two. Because as I say, I don't think Divine's going to have it wrong, but I don't think you'll have it wrong either. It's really just different perspectives that we're talking about. And then we'll use tarot and other oracles for other information. So for pile number 1, we have the river. For pile number 2, we have the flame. And for pile number 3, we have the vision. You can, of course, go to more than one reading if you like. Maybe it's an amalgam across a number of them. You do whatever suits you, but when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your readings. This is an interesting set of cards, I have to say. There's probably two very, very strong messages that are coming from this. Maybe one, maybe both apply to you. This is a collective reading after all. But this is very transformative. The divine sees you at a point in transformation that is maybe more than you expect, and is going to places that are more than you expect. But interestingly enough, with the alchemical sort of energy, and that's sort of the river is just that kind of momentum, going through transformation, going with the flow, having to go with the flow. That kind of energy, and the fact you see the horse there, and that sort of sense of great steeds carrying you in the night, just forward, that kind of energy. So there's change going on around you at the moment. That's the context. The context is change, transformation. It can be letting go of things, letting go of the past, letting go of grief. And that's why this is very interesting, because ash in the alchemical process is a similar energy in a way. It's a point in the process where the past has been burnt away. It can literally also talk about past loved ones, grief, letting go. So there's definitely something like that going on at the moment. Now, it could be at a conscious level, and you could go, yes, I am grieving the loss of someone important to me in one form or another. I have been looking into my ancestors. I'm understanding where I fit in the broader transformative energy of my bloodline, or something like that. That could absolutely be the case. But otherwise, there may be a very deep transformation going that will eventually detach you, and you'll need to grieve certain things to actually take it on. Because when I look at how you're viewing yourself at the moment to how the divine's viewing you, there's a big shift here. You have an inkling of it with Jupiter. Jupiter is expansion, and expansion can be wonderful, or expansion can be too much. We have Venus, the heart expanding, what you love expanding. I feel as though at this point in time you're on a transformational journey that is towards the good, and you are very well intentioned, and there is nothing in what the divine sees that suggests that you're not well intentioned, by the way, but you're very well intentioned. Your heart is very open. You want to manifest good for yourself and those you care about. But there is either an undertow about loss or grief that is, there's almost a kind of a rose-coloured glasses thing operating, Now, it doesn't mean that good things can't come of this or that your intent isn't good, because it is. And ultimately, I think it will be good. The alchemical process, the archetypal process, all these things carry us where we need to go. But this almost feels like putting on a very brave face to something, but it's more than brave. It's like sunny. It's a sunny disposition. It's everything is for the good. Everything happens for a reason. I am about love. I am about caring. I'm about expansion. All of this is true. This is not untrue. But the divine sees you as a massive transformation, like massive transformation going on, double Pluto, at a very deep level, and almost a visit to the underworld type of level, which sort of fits again with this, like the transformation being more than you expect, and the ash is sort of like the letting go of the underworld in some way. For some of you, you may be about to become a medium or something like that, or you're about to learn that about yourself. Like the underworld is actually a place that you are comfortable, and you don't know that, and you're going to find it, that's the case. But otherwise, I feel like there's a lot of power here. The divine sees you as a very powerful energy, a very powerful entity, uh, and meant to be about transformation in one form or another. So, and able to bear it. Like, this is the thing that I find interesting. I feel like these energies, this, as I say, a little less than this, but they're both a bit relentless. The energy is very much about change, burning things out. The more difficult phase of an alchemical process or a spirit path, like that's the context of this, and this is the huge power that's coming from it. But maybe it is because in the end you do tilt towards what is beneficial, what is loving. That is why you have almost the armor of God to be dealing with this. But if you aren't already in a major transformational energy, that when you start to go through it may trigger things from the past where losses have occurred, grief has occurred, and that kind of thing. Then it's coming, and unless you don't relate to that at all. Because as I said in the introduction, if you don't relate at all to the thing of seeing yourself as a very benign, very loving, caring person who wants to expand the world for themselves and those they love, which is what's part of the transformational process and part of moving forward, then if you don't see that, this may not be your reading. But otherwise, regardless of whether you've hit this point yet, it's coming because the divine thinks you have the power, the energy, the capacity to do this. And so you are going to be pivotal in some form of change. Now, whether that's in a very macro level or whether it's just within yourself or whether it's with friends, time will tell. But it's a lot bigger than you are expecting at the moment. And yeah, as I say, it's depth psychology. It's really getting to the core of things for a positive reason, I think. And you come out of it very, very powerful, but it's full on. So what we want to do with tarot, we want to firstly ask, why does the divine see this? Why, through this context, why is the divine seeing this? How can you best use that energy? Because the divine will have a perspective that's likely to be right, okay? It's not that the divine's going to be wrong. And it's not that you are wrong per se, but this is almost like the next step. And then how do you integrate that with your self-view? So let's have a look at that. So firstly, with tarot, a little bit more about why does the divine see you as double Pluto, which is full on. 8 of Pentacles. 10 of Cups reverse. Yeah, there's something family loss, ancestral connections. 7 of Pentacles. 5 of Cups. The Hierophant. Okay. So firstly, I'm going to jump to the Hierophant first because that really jumps out to me. The divine sees you as coming from a very powerful spiritual tradition. Whether it is in this lifetime or whether it's another lifetime that you've carried through, I don't know. It will depend on who comes to this reading. But you have the learning, the tradition, like having gone from an initiate to an adept to a master type of level already, either in this life and now you're learning something new. So maybe you are used to change because you see it as this developmental growth, the expansion of, thinking, thought, philosophy, all those sort of things. That certainly could fit with Jupiter. So you're very able to learn systems, traditions, all of those sort of things. And you are doing a bit of that now in one form or another. So it could be learning a skill. It could be following a particular spiritual path. There's something like that. And you have an attention to detail and you know your stuff. And I guess if you were going to be involved in something massively transformative within particularly the external world, you need to actually know your stuff to do that. People don't like follow and go with the energy of someone who's just making it up as they go along. So part of it is there is the attention to detail, the dedication and the knowledge that is necessary. So that's part of the reason that the divine is saying that. There is some deep wound as well. And you have remained, I think the divine is saying, you have remained positive, loving, caring, regardless of that. So that also makes you much stronger, much more resilient to do this. This is the pain of growth. This is literally like growth pains. So it's the growth that you go through, the growth that others go through. But your capacity to transmute and burn out the emotional disappointments, because you have a context for it. This is why you can do this. You're able to do it because you know what you're doing. It's a very mature, you have a very mature energy and a kind of resilience. So it comes from pain, but like, as I say, you've retained this. So the divine is definitely saying you're right about that, but saying, boy, do I have something in store for you because you're able to do this. And this is how the universe grows. This is how we grow. That's what it's sort of saying to you. So others will grow as a result of this. And you want that. You want others to grow. But boy, something big is coming. So how can you best use this energy? Because it's full on. That's full on, straight out of the gate. 5 of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles, okay, Knight of Cups, Ace of Cups. Oh, wow. 3 of Cups. Okay. You will eventually find friends and people that connect, but it will take some time. You're the person to do this because you're a bit like a knight in the Arthurian court or something like that. You are someone who has the emotional heart to do this and the kind of spiritual vision. But it's also because you're strong enough to stand on your own. Like, I'm sorry, Poe, and this is heavy. Like, I don't think necessarily that anything awful is going to happen to you. But there's a big transformation and you're carrying it. I think you're carrying it for quite a few people, not just yourself. But you have to carry it alone. No one else can do this. Whatever this is, only really you can do. Your open heart is a protection for you and it will bring others as time goes on. It feels to me very, actually, Lord of the Rings, very Frodo. You know, you're the one who has to carry the ring. You will have Samwise with you there right till the end, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's you. That's the energy. And that's like that, the doubling of power. One has to have the internal power to be able to deal with that. So buckle up, I guess. Okay, so how can you integrate this with your self-view? So how do you keep this wonderful, beautiful, open heart and caring for others and belief in the best when you're going through something this big? Five of Wands, 10 of Swords reversed, Page of Swords, 2 of Wands reversed. Okay. There's a kind of energy of knowing, firstly, this too shall pass. I feel like saying to you, go and read some quotes by Marcus Aurelius. I feel like he might know this energy fairly well. This looks to me like there will be some conflict or whatever. It's actually, the conflict is actually the fairly minor point of it. It's just the depth and the amount of transformation. It's big. And it brings up a lot of sort of old wounds. But like, know that any conflict will pass relatively soon. You are able to articulate what needs to be said to take it out of that space. But you can't create the direction it's going in. So you have a role, I think. I think this is going back to the Hierophant energy and so forth. You're more like a teacher, a mentor or something like that that's helping others. But the transformation is so major that it brings up a lot of stuff for you as well too. But what you've got to do is find the peaceful energy, get the drama out of it, but not tell people what to do. Be the transformation, be the change you want to be in the world, as the Gandhi sort of thing. But yeah, it's more like your teaching and your knowledge positions you to do this, but you can't dictate to others. And there may be, as I say, some conflict, but you can integrate your caring for others in a way of understanding how to keep peace. Your energy is very clear and it's very caring, and I think that's part of it. And it's not the sort of energy that wants to dominate. And there's such a powerful energy here that's saying that, not to be sort of dominating. So that's what we're looking at. So it's very powerful energy. So part of this reading was to get you a couple of powerful guides from the divine, and boy, it'll be interesting to see what yours are. So we have Rainala, which is about the rain coming and so forth, which is about the storm in a sense. And wow, Prometheus. Oh my goodness. Okay, so as I say, Rainala, she does bring in new growth and all of that kind of thing, but there is a storm energy, there is a dealing with the rain, there is a dealing with grief. There's something like that. That is to give the kind of sense of a future and a peaceful outcome at the end of it. But Prometheus, it's like, it's knowledge, giving knowledge to others. I'm happy that the Hanged One didn't come out since you have Prometheus. So this is not going to ultimately require you to self-sacrifice, but the love you have for others, it is so genuine. You are very right about this. That's why you can do the really life-changing things for people. There's something like really big that is going to change whatever your kind of locus of influence is, and it doesn't have to be huge to be important, but it's very big, just like Prometheus bringing fire. So, wow, this is a very interesting group of people. So let's see how and when in life this is playing out. We're going to roll the Astro dice 3 times. The house will tell us a bit about areas in life, and the rest of the information will tell us what is happening in what areas of life. So firstly, we have Uranus. I've got to say, yeah, there you go. Pluto and Uranus together. In the 9th house, beliefs, education, learning, Capricorn, like power issues, powers of the world, major change in powers of the world, being somebody who can help philosophically or in education or learning in some way. Okay. Secondly, we have Neptune, so psychic ability, and Cancer, the caring for others, the sense of family in the 1st house. So the way you present yourself, the very caring person, it is true. That's part of it. And it will be particularly important for those that you consider family, or those in your hometown, your homeland, or whatever it might be. And we have the 3rd house, how you communicate. This is why we've got the Page of Swords. Communication is partly your life path. And in Virgo, the integration of the communication and the change, and the health sides of this, doing something healthy in terms of change. So you're communicating a healthy path without telling people what to do. You're teaching them the context of the change so they can deal with it, and you're providing them a sense of caring so that they can feel at home in the change. Okay. So let's get a couple of magic and mediums cards for some magic skills or approaches that could help. Believe. Yeah. The divine wants you to believe because they've chosen you for a reason. Believe in yourself. Reflect on your past. Reflect on what's happened. You are ready for this. And healing. Yeah, there's something very healing in this. So your caring will heal. This is ultimately a healing thing. You have a natural healing ability, particularly around emotional things and change and so forth. For some reason, as I said right at the beginning, maybe it's becoming a medium, someone who can help people with grief counselling and dealing with the loss of loved ones. For some of you, and that's a real gift from the underworld or whatever. But others, this is like, I don't know, social or, spiritual or political or something like that. Okay, so if we know that the divine sees you as someone who is all about major change and in the process of change, but coming from it with exactly the right heart and the right background and knowledge for it. We just want to synthesize this now for you, like in how that works for your part of the collective that's come to this pile. So I'd like you to choose a number between 1 and 5 and focus on that. If you have to kind of stop the video for a second, pause it to choose, that's fine. But whichever number, just going to put out some tarot cards. It's just going to give a last piece of information about the connection of how you see yourself and how the divine sees yourself and how that's meant to play out. So for number 1, we have 7 of Cups. For number 2, we have the Ace of Pentacles. For number 3, we have the 4 of Cups. For number 4, we have the 8 of Wands reversed. And for number 5, we have the World. Okay, all right. So if you chose number 1, ultimately that caring that you have is meant to open doors of opportunity for people and to help them determine what ones are valid and real and what ones aren't. Because the 7 of Cups can be the ideal, but it can also be illusion. If you chose number 2, this is meant to come out with something material, a new job, a new home, birth of a child. Like there's something that is very material meant to come out of this. If you chose number 3, it's got a lot to do with helping people with emotion. It connects a lot with Renala. I think you see this looks like a tsunami, but it's being calm in the middle of the tsunami. That's your role, is because you know enough to know how to get through this and your heart is big enough to help others. If you chose number 4, you aren't free to walk away from this. You have to face it. But equally, you can slow some of this down for others and give them a context to help them go through it. And if you chose number 5, there's something on the world stage around this for you. Whether you're literally seen or whether you're behind the scenes, I don't know. But there is something very big about world change, what's going on in the world that is being triggered, and you are the person for it. So I hope that this resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the flame, which as an archetypal energy of the context, this has to do with passion, with having a purpose, with having a direction. As the flame goes up, so there is the mountain, a sense to climb. There is a sense of dedication, a sense of purpose, a sense of passion around what you are wanting to do in the world, your spiritual path, your material path, and how the divine views you. And there's definitely, this is a time for action with the alchemical energy being the planet Mars. So this is action, again, fiery action, the sense of like, again, flame, potentially divine masculine, something in what we would think traditionally divine masculine sort of areas, but it doesn't have to be that. But Mars is definitely action and could also be battling, but I don't think it's battling, because when I look at how you view yourself and how the divine views you, there is a softer energy to this. This is much more sort of spiritual, and I think about philosophy, spiritual paths, a spiritual direction, more than something material, but it is still calling for action, for dedication and action. How you see yourself is very gentle with the moon and Venus, and this is not to say you're wrong, by the way. This is partly to make sure that you found the right reading. So there's a gentle sort of energy, a highly intuitive energy, very divine feminine, yet there's a very strong divine masculine energy operating at the moment. So some of this may be to really follow your purpose and passion. You need to bring out more of that divine masculine energy to kind of like take it from a conceptual or a psychically attuned energy and something of the heart into something that is going to have a purpose, is going to kind of like burn towards something. And I don't think there's anything inaccurate about that, but the divine actually sees you more as a healer and someone who is meant to expand and teach, I think, around healing. I'm feeling like Jupiter there, I'm feeling very much connected to the 9th house, to academia, spirituality, philosophy, that kind of thing. And Chiron is both a healing energy and a teaching energy. So I feel that that you want to be caring for people, to connect your heart to your passions and your actions and all of that kind of thing. So you're very, very truly aligned to the concept that I need to follow my heart and it needs to be kind of pure spiritually. But the divine thinks you need to do more than that. You need to be out there showing other people, helping other people expand, helping other people get to this, and teaching, I think, in some way. So that's interesting. I think it's find the passion of what you have and teach, mentor, coach, do something like that. So let's see first with tarot a little bit more about why does the divine see you more as this sort of expanding, teaching, healing person rather than someone who is just more about love is all and it comes from the heart. And this is not heartless, by the way. It's just a different application. So why is the divine seeing that in you? How can you use this energy the divine sees? Because the divine's not going to be wrong, okay? You're not necessarily going to be wrong, but the divine's not going to be wrong, that's for sure. And then how do you integrate these two views? So firstly, a little bit more about this Jupiter Chiron energy of how the divine sees you. Knight of Wands, Page of Pentacles, Eight of Cups, the Moon. Yeah, they definitely think you're psychic and all that. That's not anything. And Nine of Cups reversed. Okay, all right. So what the divine thinks is that you need to shift your idea, to be frank, about what your dream is to deal with this. You're very psychic, very intuitive. Things are definitely coming in. And what you care about matters, but it's like you need to move away from some dream that didn't work. So whether there is an energy here where you've sort of like stayed in love with a concept or a person or something beyond where there was action, energy and passion, and like the divine wants to gently heal you, move you on, and so that you can use that energy and knowledge to help and teach others. Or whether, it's a spiritual path that will take you so far but not far enough. It is around the spiritual and the intuitive, but there's more to uncover. That I think is what the divine is saying. And they want you to move, like take action, Knight of Wands, towards something material with it. So I feel like there's a combination of letting go of something that either is a little bit too emotionally amorphous to be actually manifest, or something that you have to let go of that is no longer serving you. But it's also to manifest something. It's to take action to manifest something. And I think the divine thinks, as I say, that you can expand into this sort of healing and or teaching sort of role with others. So how can you best use this energy? Two of Wands reversed. Six of Swords reversed. Four of Wands reversed. Well, Knight of Pentacles reversed. Knight of Swords reversed. Okay. You've got, I think the Moon is the key thing here. It's bringing things up to the surface. This is probably not something that kind of initially computes with you. If that computes, this might be sort of like, I don't get what you want me to do. It's something that's very deep within you have to go within and get. But what it is trying to say is that you can help people, because this is what this is all about. Expand their horizons, find their passion, follow their purpose, understand it, by firstly making them see where they're doing something that's not what's right, because there's something that happened with you like that, you can actually show others. But it's also like making them feel comfortable with following their own path, even if it's not clear, and experimenting and not rushing things. So it's sort of like being a teacher or a guide or a mentor to others, to get people to feel comfortable doing the road less traveled, and then knowing they can go off on different pathways or whatever and try out things, and they don't have to be in a rush. It's like all of these energies go to the summit. This one is probably the most direct, but it's okay if you or others go in other directions. It's about expansion. It's about healing. But it feels to me as though there's something that you can do to help others who get stuck in the path somewhere and or don't have the courage to try out new things, and they just get stuck for that reason. There's something in that. You expand people. That's how you heal them. You expand their horizons. That's what the divine wants you to think about doing, because you have a natural gift in doing it, and partly because you've gone that road yourself. You've actually had to do it within yourself. And if you go in and remember that, all the reverse cards, then it's going to come together. So let's see how that integrates for you. Like, how can you integrate the caring, emotional, everything is about love, to the healing and growth-oriented sort of person around others? Two of Pentacles, Queen of Cups, the Sun, the Devil. Okay. So I feel like the divine is saying to show people in some ways that choices, particularly early in the piece, are an illusion. The only thing, why you are the person to do this is because you're heart-centered and you're very authentic emotionally. So instead of like pushing a decision immediately, I feel like this is saying you'll have time for choice. And you had time for choice, and let other people have time for choice. Let them find their heart. That will bring them to their path. They have to be released. It's almost like being released from a binary choice in a way. It's sort of like there are more things in heaven and earth than are thought of in our philosophy, as the bard would say. It's like a broadening things beyond just one or the other, black or white, like that kind of thing, to something that helps each person find their own path and free themselves from the material things the material binary choices that have stopped them. So yeah, like the divine female, the divine masculine, like how that's a binary thing. Whereas if you look at it as just an expansion of like knowledge and spirituality and healing, it's almost non-binary. There's something like that going on. Okay, so let's get you a couple of powerful guides that might give us a little bit more of an idea about what the divine is seeing in you that is different to what you're seeing. Vulcanus, so there's a lot of fiery energy and change associated with this. It's not though change to me, like Vulcan does suggest, kind of almost a volcano or something, but it's not, I don't think it's volcanic. I think it's a steady flame that gradually goes towards the sun, so to speak. But it is about change, helping people change. And Vulcanus will help you with that. And Mithras, okay, so that's interesting because that's got almost a Christ consciousness sort of energy to it to some degree. I say that because, there is sort of similarities between the Mithraean story and the Christ story. But in this particular thing with Libra, this is about finding harmony, like in these binary things, these opposites. And his energy can be used for doing that, finding peace in war, finding like what is healing and what is heart-centered, but rather than the war energy of Mars. So there was a bit of a clue there with Mars that I wasn't picking up till we got that. You could in fact be precisely the right person to heal and teach in a very conflict-based environment where people are lost and don't know what they're doing, and help get them on the path that is more of the heart. So that energy is there as well too. So it's quite powerful. I think there is a kind of a dealing with the balance of opposites rather than them being at war. There's some sort of energy there that you're meant to heal and teach people around. Okay, so to get a little bit more specificity, we're going to just roll the astro dice 3 times. The houses that come up will be important to say the areas of life in which this is happening, and then the other aspects will give us a bit more information. So firstly, we get the 9th house. That doesn't surprise me. This is the Jupiter energy I was saying. This is even the Chiron energy, the teaching, the learning, the philosophy. Taurus, the philosophy of what is the good life, what is the material life, with the moon, bringing the moon. Also, Mithras, by the way, is connected a lot with the moon. So the moon is very important here. Your intuitive energy, you're probably very strongly tethered to the cycles of the moon, so pay attention to that. But there is something here about the emotional philosophy of what the good life is. Secondly, we have Gemini, we have the 9th house again, and Pluto. So yeah, there is big change around beliefs and so forth, communication and balance, the binary thing again. There's definitely something in you that the divine sees as your special source to teach and heal others that has to do with opposites and the balancing of opposites, and almost having both within yourself and knowing how to balance that so that major change can occur and transformation can occur. And 11th house, something in the social realm. Again, Gemini, your communication. Again, Neptune, very telepathic, very much connected into the collective unconscious. This is part of it as well. You may, in fact, be able to influence people. Maybe you don't have to see them directly. Maybe you write certain things that they read that have a big influence on them. You might be one of those sort of mystics that writes a new sort of system or a new way of doing things that people read. They don't necessarily have to meet you, but they get to see this and they get to see the depth of that. Or you may do some sort of social influencing as well. Okay, social media influencing, that kind of thing. All right, let's just get a couple of magic and mediums cards, just to sort of see some spiritual gifts or approaches that would be helpful. Journey. Okay, shamanic journeying would really help you if you aren't already doing it. But otherwise, this may be saying thinking of the journey up the mountain, and the ultimate goal, but like allowing a number of different paths, your paths and other people's paths, to reach the same thing. And believe. You just need to believe in yourself. The divine wants you to believe in yourself. You are the person to do this. Okay, so to finish off, I just want you to choose a number between 1 and 5, and that will give us a sense of how to synthesize this for your part of the collective that chose this particular pile. So if you have to pause, do that, but I'm about to deal out the tarot cards to give us that synthesis. So for number 1, we have 3 of Cups. For number 2, we have the Chariot reversed. For number 3, we have the Hierophant reversed. For number 4, we have Judgment reversed. And for number 5, we have 9 of Wands reversed. Okay, so if you chose number 1, of all of the ones who have come to this, it's going to be the easiest for you. You have good companions, you have friends, and what you have to bring as an energy is something that people would celebrate. You are the person who will bring some purpose and some balance and some peace into difficult situations. People are likely to celebrate you being here. If you chose number 2, you need to go a little bit slower than maybe some of the others here, because there is quite a lot of, like with the Mars energy and the flame burning there's quite a lot of energy around this, but this is saying go a bit slower. It's also saying that whatever the thing is that you're helping other people with, that isn't actually your destiny. It's helping them find theirs. If you chose number 3, then it's a very different system that you're bringing. It's your own system. So there's something almost, as I say, you should write or you should put online or something like that, because it's not like you're kind of pointing people to something that already exists and going, follow that and that'll sort it out. This is something that is uniquely yours. And you may be seen by some as somewhat heretical. If you chose number 4, you have a bit of time to decide what to do with this. But if you don't, it's an opportunity to really step into a role that the divine thinks that you're best suited for, and it may pass by you if you don't decide to do it. So there's going to be some sort of conflict or balance or something that needs to be healed or repurposed, and you'll have a little bit of time to decide, but don't wait too long. And if you chose number 5, it's going to be hard to get this right to the end, and maybe that's not even the point. There's going to be some difficult people around it, and so your energy may go up and down. It may be more, and going back to the journey, that this is about the journey and showing people the journey. It's probably very much give them some answers, give them some ideas, give them some balance, help mediate things, help heal things. But in the end, whether the people you're helping get over the line or not is not your responsibility. Some will and some won't. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you come to the reading with the vision. And in terms of, and that's part of the context, which is a vision. It is a kind of like having a kind of a idea of a new way of doing things, being visionary in some way. So I'm presuming that you came to it because you feel that that's the case, like you've had a vision, but I suspect you're not sure. Or you feel that you get visions, but it's very reactive and it's very much about, the powers and the structures of the world and breakdowns and tower moments and so forth, as opposed to anything new to be built. It's like, it's almost, if you do think of yourself as visionary, I think you feel that you pick up the heavier energy, which I'll explain why I'm saying that. Or you've just had a vision and you're wondering, because it's sort of like, is this even something real? And it is, because it is different, it is change, it is something, and it's only at its beginning, and it is coming from something that is difficult, because that's what the new pearl is. It's like the pearl that's created by the grit that irritates the oyster, but it creates something very, very beautiful. So that context is there, a vision, an idea, a situation that you're in, a sort of viewpoint of it that sort of almost feels like it came like lightning, but it's an irritant, and I think you feel that. I think you feel that you often see that, or you're called into that, because this is the energy you feel you have, which is Saturn, kind of like structures, discipline, things that are solid or whatever. With Uranus, which is like tower moments and things that fall apart, I think that you are often in the center of the tension between the changing of like systems or ideas, or like there's something in you that it battles between the wish for stability and structure and certainty, and then like the inspirational and the different. And I think it may play out quite often being somehow just always seeming to be somewhere where major change occurs. It's sort of like, in organisations, you might sort of go in thinking, oh, this looks like a nice stable place, and then within a few weeks of you being there, there's an organisational restructure happening or something like that, and you're like, what? Again? So there is, and within yourself, you see yourself as a kind of internal battle between the wish for change, evolution, revolution, and stability, security, order. So it's like there's an internal battle going on. And that, as I say, is a bit like this, because it's almost like the vision is the sort of new thing, but like the irritation is like, well, what does this new thing cost to stability, and is it too much and so forth. So you're caught in that betwixt and between energy, probably because you are a visionary and you see the new coming in and as I say, the shifting of the old, but it's a tension. There's a kind of dynamic tension, whereas the divine sees you just as a visionary that is meant to bring in something wonderful. So the divine sees the pearl that you're going to create, the dream, the vision, the ideal, the life path, and find out who you really are out of this. But you're kind of in the moment of between the two worlds and like between the two energies, and like how do you balance those? So you see this more as a dynamic tension that you've got to balance all the time, whereas the divine sees this as something creative that you're meant to kind of go through that process, take the vision through the process of the tension to create and to bring in a dream. So let's see a little bit more about this with tarot. Let's ask a little bit more about why the divine sees you more as this sort of like born visionary, as opposed to you thinking you're sort of someone who's always there at the heart of the tension and the change and the struggles and so forth. We'll have a look at how can you best use the energy that the divine sees in you, and how can you integrate it with your view of yourself. So firstly, this Sun-Neptune energy, a bit more about why the divine sees that in you. Page of Swords reversed, the Moon reversed, the Five of Pentacles, the Seven of Pentacles, the Knight of Cups. Okay. The key thing to this is the new pearl, I have to say. I mean, the vision, you have the visionary ability with the Uranian energy and with the Neptunian energy. And so that's, you and the divine are absolutely on the same page with that. But the key is the pearl, the tension, because it is when something doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't feel like it's been communicated correctly, when something just feels jarring, that it's bringing something up. It's bringing something up to be born, to change, and all that kind of thing. And you feel alone in that moment. You feel like you're kind of like in the midst of this thing. You don't know whether you're going to be materially okay. You don't know whether you're going to have people around you. Like you sense this. You sense it coming. You sense change incredibly well. And you have that tension. But the divine is saying that this is actually how it's growth pains. It's the second time, actually, I think, in this reading, the growth pains has come up. It's a form of growth, not like in this set of readings. Some of you might have gone to another reading as well. So there's a kind of a sense of like, it's a difficult thing, but it is about growth. And the pearl, it takes time for the pearl to create, and so forth. But ultimately, this is your vision and this is your mission. You're not really about the tension that is having people at loggerheads, or just like kind of like one has to rule over the other, like Saturn has to win or Uranus has to win. You're actually about the heart connection between the two that creates the pearl. And that's more visionary. But you're just, for some reason, this tends to happen for you in environments where something big and material has to shift for it to occur. So you always feel like you're at this crisis point, when in actual fact you're at a point of potentiality. So let's see how you can use the energy, the visionary energy, for yourself. The Empress, creatively, definitely. Page of Cups reversed, King of Cups reversed, Ace of Swords reversed, Seven of Swords reversed. Okay. What the divine is saying is this is very natural to you. And you are a natural creative. You would create the pearl. That is natural to you. You kind of need to almost relax into it and know that that's the case. Then it's how you deal with this. This is your own internal vision and life path should help navigate this energy, because it's saying that you focus on where the heart is wounded by not letting the new in. So where Saturn does have to give way. It's giving, like the divine is giving you a little bit of a, you could find yourself in this situation quite often, but where it's going to really bring out your life path and the pearl is where it is time for change to occur. If you're just around something that actually needs more stability, then your vision is not necessarily the thing. It's almost like step back and let people who are more steeped in that tradition do something. But where actually it's time for something to shift, something has to be healed and a new energy has to come out. You actually, because you know this energy, when connected with your vision, you can be very realistic about how that occurs because you know what the costs are. You've been through it. So how do we integrate these two things together? The Lovers, the Ten of Cups reversed, Judgment, the High Priestess. Okay, it's very much you need to really take on your visionary point. Like it's very spiritual. Your path is spiritual. I think you get in a lot of social, political, organizational sort of like situations like that and you think, oh God, or within family dynamics or whatever, but your path is very spiritual. It says there are other people who can look after the emotional fallout. You're not necessarily meant to deal with that. Others will be able to deal with that. You are meant to be the visionary. You need to take that role on and call upon others to come forward and deal with some of the emotional stuff. So you don't have to do it all, is what it's saying. Okay, let's get you a couple of powerful guides. Sorry, I realised that this is not... You're not seeing all of that. Okay, a couple of powerful guides for what the divine sees in you. Rainala, okay, that came up with one of the others. This is clearing energy out, the new growth and everything with the rain, but also dealing with the rain. As I say, I think there's an emotional side to this, an emotional healing side that I think that Rainala will help with, but I think you're kind of almost meant to outsource some of that because you're meant to be more the creator and the visionary. And curious. Now, I don't know this one. I'm going to pause and just look it up, but I'm wondering if it actually is about curiosity, given the name, but we will see. Okay, yes, in a way, Hermes, Thoth, Hayagriva, and other messenger gods represents communication, which coordinates, unifies, and integrates all people. He is our curiosity, but also our openness, our willingness to share, teach, spread knowledge, listen, and learn. A lesson is ready to be learned. You're on the verge of a profound understanding. Make the connection. So, yeah, this is to, I think, understand, like, instead of worrying about, gee, here we go again, know that there are people around you who can deal with some of the fallout. You should be curious about what is the new pearl, because that's where your role is, and curious there will help you with that. Okay, we're also going to get a bit more specificity using the Astro dice. So we're going to roll it 3 times. The house will tell us quite a bit about the areas in life that this is manifesting, and then the other parts will tell us how in a way. So firstly, we have the 7th house, so relationships with others, connections with others, whether it's at work, politically, socially, in love, in families, integration and health, like bringing something more healthy and integrated. The Sun. So yeah, you're meant to integrate these energies, not have them fight against each other, to use that tension to create something new. And this is your life path. Like this is what you're meant to do. And it is in connection with others. Okay, and then we have the 1st house, so this is how you appear to others. Jupiter, very expansive, caring, Libra, and fair. So this is the other good thing. Like your visions will appear to be more fair, to be expansive, to be socially good, to be healthy, to be a pearl, to be something that's good. Particularly when dealing with a situation where old orders were not that. And wow, we have the 12th house. So deep within, Within the psychic, spiritual, visionary thing, Pluto is lurking, bringing very big change. Sagittarius, that brings freedom, liberation. So again, as I say, where this really, the sweet spot of this is not where Saturn should win here, because stability is what is needed. The Uranian energy is too volatile. It's where an old order is moving to a new. That's where your visionary side is at its most potent. Okay, let's get you a couple of magical approaches or gifts to help you with this. Moon magic. So pay attention to moon magic, literally. Pay attention to the cycles of the moon. You're going to be able to sort of see things. You're probably more likely to have visions at particular points of the moon cycle. And astrology. Yeah, pay attention. Like, yeah, okay. That will help you. If you're getting these visions, you're trying to work out, again, is this a Saturnian thing that is not really for you to touch because it's too much change, or is it a time for a changeover? Astrology is going to help you do that. So once you get vision, starting to see what that is, understanding what are some of the tensions within you're going to have to navigate, how to give other people navigation, and also who to potentially outsource some of the personal stuff to. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to use another tarot deck, and I'm just going to ask you to choose a number between 1 and 5. And depending upon which number you choose, that's a sort of synthesizing message of this for you from the divine, to, like kind of segment the collective that have come to this particular reading in a way that's a little bit more targeted. So pause if you need to, because I'm about to deal out. So for number 1, we have 5 of Swords. For number 2, we have 10 of Swords reversed. For number 3, we have 3 of Cups reversed. For number 4, we have 2 of Wands. And for number 5, we have Page of Wands reversed. Okay. So for number 1, I think this is to give you that discernment to know what are the battles to have and what do you walk away from. That's why maybe one of the key things the divine wants you to know is the visionary energy needs to be used when old orders are shifting and new pearls can be created. If that isn't the case, walk away from it. You're not required to do anything. You might have sensed it visionary way, but it's just a message that like lets you know something is happening, but it's not necessarily your battle. If you chose number 2, then your vision grows once the kind of cataclysmic clash occurs. So don't protect yourself, I think, and protect your vision until that time. It might be sort of keep your counsel till a lot of the battles are done, and then you can actually come up with something. It's sort of after the battle that you are the most potent. If you chose number 3, this is something you're probably primarily going to have to do alone. Like you're less likely to be able to outsource the emotional stuff as some of the others who've come to this reading. If you do it, make sure that you've properly vetted people, because you could have enemies or gossip or something like that around it. If you chose number 4, the big ticket thing for you is to just kind of say, what is the long-term vision of this? And just focus on that. That's going to give you the energy you need. If you chose number 5, there is a creative role for you here that you're not yet fully seeing. Once you do realize that, you'll realize that you've developed that ability. You've gone through the Ace to 10, you're at the Page, and that you've kind of not been seeing your creative energy. When you see it, a lot unleashes and a lot of this comes into being. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.